So, another recommendation that we can make, if you're trying to connect to the soul energy and you don't feel like you're making progress, is to read spiritual books, is to read anything that appeals to you, because that puts you closer to your soul energy. And as you're reading, you're stopping any kind of thought that's negative, and you're giving your soul a chance to talk to you. So I would read A Course in Miracles. I would read anything that is appealing to you. I still love to read spiritual books because I like to see and hear what is being taught now. A lot of these books that have been written were written many, many years ago. And I like to see if they're saying the same thing. Basically, it's like a little test. I like to see, okay, is there anything new? Or are we being told the same thing? And I was listening to an audiobook this week. Paul Selig, he's a channeler, and he channels a group of spiritual guides. And I would recommend it. The one I'm listening to is called Realization. And in his book, he talks all about the divine that lives within us and how to reach it and how to expand ourselves. And when I listen to his book, it sounds very similar to Course in Miracles. It sounds similar to Laws of Attraction. It sounds similar to Eckhart Tolle. It sounds pretty much similar to what we've been learning, which is very validating to me, because it seems like we're getting the same message over and over. And that's important for us to know. And when I go into my soul energy and I feel those things and hear those things, when I'm out of that energy and I listen to somebody else that's getting the same information put in a completely different way, but basically the same information, it's very validating, and it's very exciting that we can kind of prove that from all these different guides that we're learning about ourselves and about why we're here and how we can advance and how we can evolve. So I would highly recommend his book. It's so interesting, and his guides talk in a very metaphoric way, in a very similar way that I get when I go into my soul energy, and when I write my posts. They do tend to use metaphors because it's easier, I think, for us to learn spiritual truths in that way. It makes it a lot easier. Like the basement and the first floor is easy for me to understand. And in his book, he uses the piano in the lower octaves and the higher octaves, and how beautiful the higher octaves are. And that's more of the positive, and the lower octaves are more the lower. And he calls it the living in the upper room, which is in our soul and our higher self, is the upper room, he calls it. So very similar, and very wise and very interesting. So I would highly recommend that. And when I listen to that, it just is very confirming for me that we are evolving. That it's time for us to move away from our thoughts and not let us keep creating from our thoughts, because when we do, we will get what we're living in. So if we're living in the basement, we're going to get more negativity, more anxiety, and more fear. If we're living on the first floor, we're going to get more love, more manifestation. We're going to get more comfort, and we're going to get more spiritual knowledge. So it's in our best interest to move out of the basement and to really evolve. Because if you don't, we get lost in the basement, and really there's just nowhere to go. You just go in circles with negativity. So it's not really a very good place for any of us to stay. So we really do have to encourage ourselves to move out of that, and to see and to really ask our soul to lift us. When our soul lifts us, we can see the truth of other people. And so then we treat them differently. We treat ourselves differently, and we treat other people differently. And we know that we are definitely connected, and that when I look at another person, I always see myself, no matter what's going on with the other person. There's very little judgment because there's just understanding. The soul energy is probably the most amazing bunch of therapists that I've ever met, because in that soul energy, there's nothing but understanding. There's no evaluations. There's only unconditional love and a higher perspective. So where I used to think about in a certain way about certain situations, I no longer think that way. My belief system has really kind of exploded, imploded, or whatever you want to call it, because a lot of the things that I used to believe and what the world tells us, I no longer believe. And that does take some time, because if you do believe the things of the world, then you're going to feel not enough, because the world does speak of limits, and that you can only do so much and you can only achieve so much. And that if you're not a certain way, that you're basically not good enough. And we can't listen to that anymore. We've had enough of that with the ego. And the way out of that is really to go into your soul energy, give yourself a break, give yourself a beautiful time out. To sit in the energy of love is like going to heaven, and just resting for a little bit. And we all need that kind of rest. And it's so helpful for us to take that kind of rest. So I would highly recommend it. And I recommend any spiritual books that just resonate with you, that your soul brings to you. It never ceases to amaze me that a book will always come my way when I need it the most, or when I'm supposed to learn something new. And our soul and our guides and people that look out for us arrange all that. So you know that you're very, very well taken care of and guided if you're paying attention. And if you want to learn, if you want to really grow your soul, if you really want to do what you're meant to do here, connecting to your soul is the way to go. Because then through love, through confidence, you're going to create in a completely different way. And your soul will help you and guide you. And it doesn't have to be through pain. We'll learn that way, and your soul will still grow even if you stay in the basement, but you don't have to. You can grow through love and through help and support. So really the choice is always ours. So I think a lot of the spiritual teachings is just more of an encouragement to decide to do it differently, and to erase some of those grooves in your mind that keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. The biggest thing I'll always say to all my clients is, you do not deserve this. You don't deserve to talk to yourself this way. You would never talk to anybody this way. You don't deserve it, and nor does anybody else deserve it. No matter what they're doing in their lives, no matter what their lives look like, you don't know where they come from. You don't know their prior experiences. And how can we judge? How can we judge another person? I may act in a way that's very different based on my life experiences than somebody else. So who are any of us to judge it? But that's that knowing that you get when you're more and more in that soul energy. You start to see that everybody is the same, and that even though people may act in ways we might not prefer, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that they're not part of this beautiful divine spirit that we all come from, and it doesn't mean they're not worthy, that they very, very much are. And that people that are having a lot of internal pain will act out that externally. So anytime I see somebody acting in a way that's attacking or really angry or really, in a very difficult way to be around, then I know that their inner pain is so bad that they can't even contain it. A lot of people will contain their inner pain and won't take it out on other people. And some people can't. They can't contain that inner pain. So it just gets thrown on everyone around them. And I have a lot of compassion for people like that, because we're all like that. We all have inner pain. It's just some of us can hide it better than others. So to judge someone for their inner pain would be judging myself for inner pain. And I don't do that anymore, because when I'm in the soul energy, I know the reason why I'm in so much pain is because I'm in the basement. And if I really knew my worth, and if I really knew my truth, then I wouldn't be in any pain, because there's no regret, there's no remorse, there's no mistakes, there's only growth. And so where's the pain? There is no pain. There's no need to be successful, because when you're in the soul energy, you feel like a rock star. You are the rock star in your soul energy. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to accomplish anything. You don't need to make tons of money. You don't need to do any of that when you're in the soul energy. So when you really, really feel that, you realize, well, if I was in that energy all the time, then I really wouldn't have any pain, and I really would be much, much more pleasant to be around. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't have access to information to help them to go within and to connect to the soul energy. And some people do, naturally. They don't need to read a book. They just naturally know how to do it. So, but if you are working and your coworkers are difficult to be around and you're having a hard time with them, you just have to kind of look at them and say, wow, if they must be in a lot of pain for them to take that pain out on me. I think the challenge is not to take other people's pain personally, because when we do, that's when we react to it. When we know that somebody's having a hard time and that's the reason they're attacking us, then we don't react to it. But if we believe what they're saying, which a lot of times if we're not in the soul energy, we do, because it's just a confirmation of what we've been saying to ourselves, which is we're not good enough. So then when someone attacks you, it just confirms, oh, you see, there I go, I'm not good enough. Then that is why we take things personally. We wouldn't take things personally if we didn't believe it, but we truly believe it because we have been saying it to ourselves this whole time. So of course we believe it, and of course we take everything personally because we believe our thoughts, so that it always goes back to that. So the challenge is to say, that is not true. None of that is true. And when you're in the soul energy, you really do feel none of that is true. And you know none of that is true. So it's very easy not to take things personally, to be able to look at people clearly, to look into their eyes and see them, and to know that who they are, to know that they have a beautiful soul within them and that they're living in the basement. And they're just lost. They don't know how to get upstairs. They're just, the lights are out and they're in the basement and it's cold and it's dark and it's horrible and they're lashing out at you for help. So it's up to us to help people to evolve a little bit, to say, to give them compassion and help. I know when I'm throwing myself back in the basement, I'll read a book or I'll meditate or I'll go for a walk, or one of my friends will help me out of the basement, or I'll ask my soul and that will help me out of the basement. So these are our challenges, and it is a wonderful challenge because we love a challenge. And so I challenge you to really connect to your soul so that you can stumble upon these truths and these knowings, so that you can write your own book, or you could have your own channel and you can help people too, so that there'll be more people evolving out of the mind, out of the ego, and be saying the same thing and be helping people to see who they truly are, not that they're not this horrible person that the ego tells them that they are, that they don't have to listen, they don't have to think that they're not good enough, that they have to prove themselves in some way, shape, or form. So this is our learning, and if you're listening to this, you're on your own spiritual journey. You have that quest for knowledge, and there's something inside of you that just wants you to learn. I used to think sometimes when I was in the basement, like, why do I have to learn? Why do I have to, why do I have to evolve like this? Why am I working so hard? Why am I doing this? And sometimes I would get really frustrated because I just felt like I was always working. And then when the magic of going into my soul energy happened, because that was the gift for this work, all this work that I've been doing was to really experience my soul energy. When that gift came to me, I now knew why I was doing what I was doing, and that this is the most important thing I could have ever been doing, because the effect that this has on my life and then every life that I touch is a trickle-down effect, and it's the same thing for you. You can really see people, and you can see yourself in other people, and you can see when they're in pain, and you can see when they need help, and when they need unconditional love, and when you need it, and you have compassion. You have a lot of compassion for yourself, and you have a lot of compassion for other people. And that just changes everything. It's just the biggest game changer ever. So I hope that this helps. I hope this resonates with you. I hope this encourages you to jump into your soul energy, to feel all the wonderful, wonderful things it has to offer, and to explore your life from the first floor of your home, where the windows and the shades and are open, and the birds are chirping, and the sun is shining, and you create from there. That you stop creating from the basement of I'm not good enough and I'm not enough. So walk up the stairs with your soul side by side and feel the love that gets extended to you. And that will help pull you out of the basement and hopefully keep you out so that you can learn some of these truths. So have a beautiful, wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon. Take care. Bye.